Take a second. Let's fix that because that is super big. So Restream sees us live, and it's sending the data right now. Okay. Well. That's weird. And I'm sure Rick's not watching Twitch, so let me jump on here and ask him. Unfortunately, he knows more about the Restream stuff than I do, so... All the folks watching on Twitch and YouTube are going to be enjoying silence and staring at our faces while we're not doing a damn thing. Let's see
here. What's going on?
You know, the cool thing is we have, we've got this service called Restream. Great service because then it pushes out to all the social platforms for us when we go live. And it shows us, Twitch is live and YouTube is live, but Facebook, it's just sitting there saying sending data. It's like it's stuck, but I don't know why.
Huh.
Unfortunately, so I'm asking our fearless leader because he knows this stuff better than I do. I think. I'm saying that, and he's going to watch and go, you know just as much as I do, and I'm going to go, ooh. Okay.
Well, I guess we're stuck here.
Right. Well, worst case, I will start pushing people over to YouTube and Twitch because they're up and running. Unfortunately, we just don't have a following on YouTube or Twitch. I mean, we have oh, it looks like there's 2 people now on YouTube or on Twitch. I say that, and then people show up on Twitch.
I think only one person was watching yesterday on Twitch.
Oh, did we get somebody? Yeah, Twitch is...
I think there's one guy.
Twitch is super hard to get a following on. I mean, from what I hear, it takes a lot of work. And we've only been doing the streams for a few months now. So, well, balls. All right, so let's... Roto Heat's live, so... Should learn this spell. All right. These with. So I'm sending people over to Facebook and Twitch. We'll see which one gets somebody, and I'll work that way. All right, so I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go, because the Restream site has a chat that covers all of our platforms.
Okay.
Until we can get Facebook figured out, we'll just go this route and figure out what I'm doing wrong. Hopefully Rick's awake and paying attention. He could. He could give us a heads up on Facebook. But all right, well, we're already like 20 minutes in, and I don't want to waste all of your evening sitting here waiting for this stuff to come up. So we'll just keep going, and we'll make it happen. And worst case, it's video we share later, and we respond to people that way. Worst things have happened. Okay, so we talked Melvin Gordon, so that is old news now. So let's talk about what we were planning to talk about tonight, which is the crazy trades that are going on here lately. The reason that I came up with this idea and said, you know what, I want to talk about trades tonight is this is the time of year. I don't know how long have you been doing Dynasty football?
Dynasty, I'm fairly new at, maybe only a couple years, but I've been in a keeper league since I was 12. Same league still going, and I've done redraft leagues. I've tried Dynasty leagues, but they always it's always with people that was in high school, and then they always kept falling through because people wouldn't want to keep playing when their team wasn't very good. So for Dynasty, only a couple years then.
The thing that I've noticed, and this will show my age a little bit, I've been doing fantasy football, Dynasty fantasy football since 2001, which is when I graduated high school. So this is everything you need to know that I'm getting old. But this time of year, you start getting crazy trades. Like, for instance, a guy this week in a 14-team PPR, full PPR IDP league sent me Jalen Richard and a 5th-round pick for Leonard Fournette. I was like, what kind of ridiculous... I was like, dude, I know that we've been in this league together for a few years, but... I wasn't born yesterday. That's ridiculous.
Was he thinking maybe what's his name wasn't going to play? Josh Jacobs or something? I don't know. I don't know.
On that one. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. So, this time of year, I start seeing those things happen where you get kind of off the wall trades. Some of the guys will say in there, hey, just trying to get the conversations going. What do you value this guy at? And this guy didn't say it. He just sent me a crazy offer and then sent me a text message with a laughing emoji. I'm like, are you crazy? So that's what made me go, you know what? I'm going to look at all the trades that are going on. And I looked back the last 2.5 weeks, so kind of like end of June, beginning of July. And I grabbed the top 10 or 11 trade offers and said, or trades that went through and said, okay, what does that look like? How did it fare? Does it make sense? Are they crazy? So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to talk about, some of these trades that we've come across here recently, and some of them are mine. I mean, I've made 2 or 3 trades in the last couple weeks, just throwing what I think is crazy offers out there, and them somehow going through. The first trade on the list is one that I sent out. So I've had a guy in this specific dynasty is the one that I've been doing since 2000. So this is like my home league. All my guys from back in Detroit, the metro area, we've been doing it forever. It's 16 team. It's fairly standard scoring, but we've added recently in the last few years tight end premium. So tight ends do tend to get a very big bump. But he kept asking what I wanted for Penny and Freeman. My team isn't really amazing. I put a lot in last year's draft, so I got Freeman, Penny, Sutton. I mean, I got a ton of different guys, rookies last year because I was trying to rebuild. But I didn't really get any great tight ends other than I really like Mark Andrews. I got him last year. I got Gesicki last year. And I have Gerald Everett, who I drafted a few years before that. So I didn't really have, I don't have a stud tight end. So he said, what do you want for Penny and Freeman? I was like, well, it's got to be at least the top 5 first this year and multiple seconds. And then I said, so I responded back and said, how about Njoku, 1.4, 215, and a 2022 second, which was the only second he had. And he took it. And I went, oh, snap. I mean, I love David Njoku. Like, he's young. He's in a really potent offense. So it made sense to me. But what do you make of a trade like that?
Is that Devontae Freeman in that trade?
No. That's
that's Royce Freeman?
Royce Freeman, yeah.
Wow, yeah. I like your side a lot right there. I like the 1.4 pick over. I like Penny is apparently getting the first team reps this year, and he does have like a high PPR value. But like you said, this is standard scoring, so I think you won on that. I can't believe he didn't come back with a counter to get, like, maybe at least either keep some of those picks or something. But I think you won on that big with it being tight end premium.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt. I mean, the thing that scares me with Njoku, as much as I like his talent, that's a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland.
Yeah. It is.
Odell's going to get his balls. Jarvis is going to get his, and Jarvis is kind of the short to medium routes where Odell's kind of to take the top off the defense. Where does that leave Njoku for getting targets? But, you've seen Cleveland, the Browns have a really good YouTube channel, and they have a little series that they've been doing called, I think it's called like Building the Browns. And in that, as I've watched it, because I've watched every episode of it, I don't know, there's probably only 3 or 4 of them, you can tell that there's clear chemistry between Baker and Njoku. And it got me excited thinking, you know what, maybe there is something to this, and maybe he will have some good value. So,
what are you looking for that 1.14 pick?
Well, the way that this league drafts, running backs always go super early.
Okay.
And they're the way that we've set this league up after the rookie draft, you have literally that day until midnight to fill your roster with free agents. And then once you do that, we stop it. There's no free agent pickups throughout the season. So
Interesting.
Philip Lindsay is available right now, so I know he'll go high because he's a name. I don't like Philip Lindsay. I'm not a big
Is it a
Phillip
keeper
Lindsay
league?
guy. It is. It's full.
You keep everybody. That 1.4 pick even looks better.
Yeah,
so.
The 1.4 probably will get me something like N'Keal Harry because I'm sure he'll slip. Yeah. If he doesn't go at 1.3, he'll go to me at 1.4 because I always draft wide receivers. That's just what I do.
Yeah.
So probably that. If not that, probably David Montgomery, I'd guess. Because I losing 2 rookie running backs, I need to get somebody. So probably my guess would be something like that. Or I try to move them. We've got a couple of teams that have been contenders that are aging out, and they've still got some pieces that have value. Especially like running back wise. There's one guy that's got Lev Bell, David Johnson. He's got a couple pieces that are getting older.
Mm-hmm.
If I really think my team has a shot, and I'm pretty decent at all the other positions. I mean, I'm not terrible. Tight end and running back are the 2 that was kind of shaky because it was filled with rookies. So. I wasn't too upset with making the deal, and I figured I'd give it a shot and see what happens. So,
yeah.
Okay. So the next trade, this one is not me, and I really struggle with this one because I don't really care for any of the pieces in it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Team 1 traded Josh Dotson, Jordan Reed, and a 2023 to Team 2, which traded Curtis Samuel, Drew Sample, which is the rookie tight end in Cincinnati, and a 2024. The only real piece of value in here in my mind is Curtis Samuel, and it's not even really a high value. I don't think he's necessarily worth anything more than a late second, early third on his own.
Yeah, I completely agree. The picks kind of you don't usually find much value in the 3rd or 4th round of rookie drafts. Drew Sample, he's tight end 3 right now in there. Jordan Reed plays maybe 2 or 3 games a year. So, there's some hype behind Josh Dotson because he does have that talent, and there's now a new quarterback there that might be able to be out there. But I still am going to go with the safe play and say the Curtis Samuel side wins that. But, you're almost essentially just swapping bench players, hoping somebody pans out. So that's why I was saying Curtis Samuel has the best chance of at least maybe having because he's a utility guy, so he's going to get a few touches a week no matter what. So
absolutely, that's a good take. That's good. For me, I would go with the Curtis Samuel side just because I think he's got like I agree with you. He's got more upside. The interesting thing for me is Josh Dotson. He came out highly touted. The Redskins made him a first round pick. He's got good hands, but it's never really came through. He's never really panned out. He really does need to leave Washington to have value, but I just don't know what that value is. So I'm going to go with the safer side of it because it's kind of a wash right now anyway, So I would agree with you, Curtis Samuel. But Josh Dotson is an asterisk to me because he could pan out in the right system. He's still young enough, and it's not like he just hasn't had a good opportunity in Washington. I mean, their team's just been really rough.
Yeah, they're rebuilding, so
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they start to be decent here in the next couple of years or so.
Well, yeah, if they keep making the right moves, I mean, they have a decent. The thing that worries me about the Redskins is the offensive line. They put a little bit into it with Brandon Scherf and Morgan Moses, but Trent Williams is getting old, so I mean their stalwart left tackle is going to leave soon. So they're kind of a weird team. They're in a weird spot right now. Okay, so the next trade, which I thought this one was really interesting because the world seems to be split on Jimmy Graham. The team 1 is giving up Jake Button a third, and team 2 gave up Jimmy Graham. I think that the Jimmy Graham owner really undersold to get rid of Jimmy Graham. Like, I think he's still got good value at least this year and maybe a year or two into the future, depending on how Green Bay turns out. What do you say about this? So this was a 12-team. Well, this is the Roto Heat 96er.
Yeah, this is. I was shocked seeing this one because he was hurt most of last year. If I recall, like he played, but wasn't he like injured most of the year? Didn't he have like a wrist injury?
He played injury quite a bit. Injured.
Yeah. So this one questioned me because Jake Button at 2023 in my opinion is essentially almost nothing.
Basically.
And this dude gave away Jimmy Graham, which depending on that person's team, probably isn't his number one tight end, but that's a great bye-week flex option in a tight end premium league. So I think the Jimmy Graham side definitely wins in this one.
Yeah, I would agree. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know why it was like why
there's a few more on here that don't either.
Mm-hmm. But this is what we're getting this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting these offers that that's why I warn people not to make trades unless you're getting a really good deal because don't trade to trade.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of these are like, whoa, dude.
Yeah. Were you watching yesterday when I said the trade I made? I took over a team that's rebuilding and I traded Joe Mixon just by himself and I got Geis, Kareem, and then like probably a 2020 second, which is probably going to be the 13th pick in that draft because there's 12 teams. That dude's tanking. So, I mean, my team it's the team I took over is not good. This dude had no picks. He has only Mixon. Really, all he had was Mixon, Antonio Brown, and Thielen. So I thought maybe I can get some. Yeah, I'm trying, but I'm going to wait for – nobody's biting on Brown right now, and so I'm hoping he gains a little bit of value when the season starts, and then I can try and get rid of him. But I think next year Kareem Hunt's a starter wherever he goes. So even
this year he's got value later in the year.
Yeah, and if Geis pans out to be decent like everyone thinks or great like everyone thinks, I think I made a decent trade. But some people disagree, some people agree.
Well, I mean, you're giving yourself two opportunities with guys that are highly touted. I mean, even though Kareem Hunt's on a new team and things didn't pan out, I mean, the talent's there, and for all intents and purposes, what has Joe Mixon done? I mean, I love him. I'm a big Joe Mixon fan.
I like him too.
But, he hasn't done anything. I mean, he really hasn't been that successful yet. And who knows with this new system, what's gonna happen for him. You've already heard that Giovanni Bernard's got a role, so they're going to give him something. I mean, so who does that hurt? That hurts Joe Mixon.
Yeah, they say they're going to run a lot of two-back sets out there. So,
oh, Sully's watching. Sully, it's good to see you, brother. He said, "Really wish Twitch would let me change." Oh, well, Sully, I can't say anything about your poor decision making on calling yourself Red Zone Sully. I don't even know what the Red Zone is.
Are you a Detroit fan?
No, well, yeah, that too. No, I was joking with him because last year, when I came on board, it was still called the Dynasty Red Zone Fantasy Football Community.
Oh yeah. I was in that when it was called that too.
Were you? Okay, so Sully went out there branding himself with the Red Zone in front of it. Crazy. Like who puts in any social media, who puts the name of the group in front of their name? As you look at my Twitter handle, this is Roto Heat Brad. All right, so Sully says he really likes the deal, Bryce. Well, look at that.
Thanks, Sully.
You've got a supporter other than me. I think it's a good deal. I mean, anytime you can get two high-value talents for one, I mean, and none of them have really been huge in breakout. I mean, why not? Geis last year was, Colin tried to argue that Geis was as good as Barkley, but Geis was clearly number 2 running back in last year's class.
I mean, if he ends up better than Barkley, I'd definitely win that trade.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not going to happen because Barkley is elite.
That man's a freak of nature.
Yeah, yeah. If Mixon has the Gurley role in Cincy, Mixon could be special. Yeah, I mean, it's true. He could very well be special, but if Gio gets a role and Mixon gets a role, I mean, you start to say, okay, well, now Gurley you're not meeting the Gurley level because last year Gurley got everything until he got hurt.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah, you have been a company man since day one, Sully. That's why you're the best in the business. All right, so the next trade on the docket is, so for anyone who watched the Monday show a couple weeks back, this was the trade I did in our Roto Heat 96er. I traded Marcus Mariota and Leonard Fournette for... Oh, and it doesn't show the picks in here. We swapped picks, too. So I traded Marcus Mariota, Leonard Fournette, and a 2020 third for Russell Wilson, Peyton Barber, Josh Gordon, and a 2020 second. I obviously can't say anything about this trade because I made the deal. So what say you, Bryce Frazier? How do you feel about that?
I kid you not. I sat here and debated this trade longer than any of them on which side I like better. Because I do like Leonard Fournette a lot for this year. Now that he's got the O-line's getting better. The quarterback is obviously much better. The wide receivers are getting older, so they're going to be better. But I feel like the only for sure player in this deal is definitely Russell Wilson. So it's kind of hard because it kind of depends on your team. Because if you were weak at running back, and
my running back is Saquon.
Okay, well
I've got one running back.
Yeah,
that's it.
There's nobody behind him now that you got rid of Fournette.
No. Well, because the way that the Roto Heat 96er went, I went into the draft and I said I'm going to get 2 guys I've never owned, and I spent over $500 on Barkley and DeAndre Hopkins. This is only my second year of doing auction. Last year I went safe and my team was trash. I mean, I sold everybody and went rebuild immediately. So this year I was like, you know what? I'm going to get 2 studs. And I did. I got Hopkins and Barkley. Now, I'm not trading Barkley, but I did. Hopkins is in the other deal on this spreadsheet.
I've got him too. I've got Kamara, Barkley, Fournette, and Josh Jacobs. But my wide receivers are not good.
See, and
I've got Edelman.
Oh, well. This year your receiver will be good.
Yeah, I've got Edelman, Watkins, old guys.
But I like Watkins.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I would say this trade's basically even. But I do like, if I had to pick one, I'm going to say the Russell Wilson side, just because he's going to be for sure one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a while. Just based on his talent alone, he's done it with guys that aren't even that great, and hopefully Metcalf is as talented as he is built. And that could be huge for him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the Russell Wilson side. The offensive line's getting better. Their run game is pretty decent. He's mobile. I like him in this trade. And then if Josh Gordon does get to play again, I think you definitely win it. So
and that was the other thing. Like, I've never owned a Josh Gordon share, so when it happened, I was like, oh man, maybe I'll this gives me a few things that. I mean, I've always hated Josh Gordon because he's got so much talent and then never actually produces, so that drives me crazy. But I said, what the heck? I mean, worst case scenario, it doesn't. So on the flip side of it, my quarterbacks are Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins. So I immediately started making Kirk Cousins offers, sending him out to people saying, what running back are you going to trade me for Kirk Cousins? And I've got a few. Right now I'm talking to the David Johnson owner, hoping that maybe I can get David Johnson, because then Barkley and Johnson makes me feel better.
Oh, yeah. With Hopkins. Too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to work on getting a running back and then kind of like a lower tier quarterback to be my number 3. Some bottom feeder. I mean, a Flacco type thing. Whatever. Just somebody to fill the bye week. So that was kind of my thinking is, okay, I'm making this deal. Now I need to immediately make another deal because now I need another running back because now Peyton Barber is my number 2 running back, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, that's not good. I wish we were in the same league. I could trade because I have no quarterbacks, no wide receiver, not very good wide receivers. So I've got Flacco and Brady. So
I've got about 24 wide receivers. Like I've got a pretty decent. I've got good wide receivers. I've got decent tight ends. I've got good good core. Like my team feels good. Minus the fact that I need a running back. So
yeah.
All right. So the next deal is actually the other deal that I made in the Roto Heat 96er. This dude offered me Devontae Adams, Green Bay Devontae Adams, Eric Ebron, and a 2020 second for DeAndre Hopkins, Andrew Beck, which is the Patriots rookie tight end, and a 2020 third. So basically Adams, Ebron, and a second for Hopkins and a third. For me, it was like, well, Hopkins and Adams really aren't that different. Like, they're not that separate. Hopkins is clearly number one, but Adams is what, 2, 3?
Yep.
I mean, So for me, it felt like a no-brainer if I could add Eric Ebron, who is probably a top, who's probably a tight end 1. He's probably like 10, 8, 9, I don't know, somewhere in there. So what say you about a trade like that?
I think Ebron's a little bit better than you give him. He had, I think, didn't he have the second most touchdowns as a tight end this last year? Yeah. With adding another wide receiver there, I just think that helps open him up some more because now I feel like teams won't be able to focus on him after having that great year. Yeah, I've got Hopkins as number 1, Devontae Adams as number 2. So Ebron in the 2020 second just greatly outweighs Beck in 2023 to me, where the Hopkins and Devontae is a lot smaller. So I think you're getting a possible 3 starters for really 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 2020 second could possibly be 1 next year, but you're at least getting 2 good starter, 2 number 1s at their position, like a tight end 1 and a wide receiver 1 for just basically a wide receiver 1. So I think you win that deal by a decent margin as well.
Good.
I'm big on Ebron. That was my tight end I bought in the 96er. So
yeah. The downfall is once I overpaid for 2 players, I really couldn't get crazy. Yeah. So
yeah.
So that was so after that I immediately started trying to make some moves. I originally wasn't trying to trade Saquon or Hopkins. I won't trade Barkley. There's probably 0 opportunity unless somebody literally gives me their entire team. Yeah. I mean, they really have to get crazy. So okay, so now none of these other Roto Heat trades are mine, so I have no idea who the owners are or what their team looks like. But Team 1 gave up Jamal Williams, Green Bay running back, Julian Edelman, your favorite wide receiver, Christian Kirk from Arizona, who was a rookie last year, and Cortland Sutton, Denver wide receiver, who's probably their number 1 wide receiver, and he's a guy that I love. Like, I'm a huge Cortland Sutton guy. Team 2 gave up Spencer Ware, Danny Amendola, Chris Conley, so 3 nobodies for the most part, but they gave up Stephon Diggs. Now that's a huge piece. I don't know how I feel. So this is probably the hardest trade for me to go. I don't know which side I really like because I like Diggs the most, but Christian Kirk and Cortland Sutton could potentially be really nice pieces.
Yeah, I agree. I think that definitely Team 2 got the best player out of this deal, but Team 1 got a player. I mean, with Edelman, I think he's going to have a great year. So I think he got a good player for this year, and then that gives these other 2 guys some time to mature. Like Cortland Sutton, this could be his year where he starts to do well. I mean, Flacco's coming there. This might arguably be the best wide receivers that he's had throughout his career, which is not great, but still, like he hasn't had much talent around him, and he's done a lot with little. I feel like he's kind of an underrated. He's not great, but he's not consistent, but he's a good quarterback, and I think that helps Cortland Sutton's value. Christian Kirk, you never know with a rookie quarterback coming in, so I like both sides of this deal, but I would almost like to see what their teams look like after the trade.
Yeah.
To see like which side I like better, but overall, I think I'm just going to lean barely to Team 1 with the Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk, and Edelman side, just because he's got 2 players I think that'll start in his roster this year, and if Christian Kirk can pan out, that might be a great addition to that trade.
Yeah, I get nervous anytime a new regime comes in because the guys before were not their guys. The only difference in Arizona is the GM is still there, so normally you see a lot of times the GM and the head coach are kind of kabooted. So, Steve Keim in Arizona, these are all his guys, so he drafted them. So there's still hope for Christian Kirk in Arizona in my mind. All right, so the next trade is Mike Evans, stud. Everyone loves him. And the other side of the trade is Philip Lindsay, Jarvis Landry, a 2020 first and third. As much as I like Mike Evans, I think that package gives you better value because Jarvis Landry isn't that far below Evans. I mean, he's probably a nice wide receiver too, and you add in a 2020 first. I mean, a third is whatever, but the 2020 first as well. I'm like, man, that's a lot of value. And I'm not a huge Philip Lindsay guy, but he's going to be probably an RB2 this year, I'd guess. Probably back end RB2 if nothing else. Probably his floor. So how do you feel about that? What do you think about that offer?
Yeah, I definitely like the package way more. Just based on Mike Evans' QB that's there, I kind of feel bad for him because he's definitely one of the most talented wide receivers in the game with one of the least talented quarterbacks. So I think with this package where Lindsey definitely showed to be a good, he won people some weeks last year alone just based on some of his games. Jarvis, I think OBJ coming there only helps Jarvis. He might stay kind of the same area he was last year. And then a 2020 first, looking at these upcoming rookies for next year, I think that draft class is loaded. So I definitely like the package deal on this. But it would be nice to get Mike Evans on your team too. It all kind of just depends on what else. I hope that guy that got Evans is deep in the running back area. So because I mean, like Lindsey's is probably number 2 on most rosters in a 12-man league. So I'd be interested to see what his team looks like, but I like the package much better.
Awesome. Yeah, Paul, this is so I went out and found a bunch of trades that have happened in the last couple weeks. Paul Velblum over on YouTube asked if this is submit trades you've seen in debate episode. Yes, basically it is. So I've gone and found about a dozen or so trades that have happened in the last couple weeks, and Bryce and I are just talking about how we feel about them. So that's kind of where we're at. So if you've got questions, if you've got trades that you've seen go down, throw them up on there. We'll chat about them. We'll give you our takes on them, and we'll kind of go from there. So the next one is kind of an interesting one, and I guess I don't know how I feel about it. Oh, well, hold on. I'll put this one on hold. So, Gerlach, trade went down today in my home league. Aaron Jones, Royce Freeman, and a mid-2020 second for Todd Gurley. Man, I still like Todd Gurley. Like, it's a struggle for me. People are really downvaluing him, and I just don't necessarily think that's as big a drop. Like, I don't think he's going to drop that big. Even if they limit his touches, he's still so dynamic that he makes the most out of every touch he gets. I would probably go with Todd Gurley over the Aaron Jones, Royce Freeman in a second. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Gurley as well. Aaron Jones couldn't really stay healthy last year either. So, I mean, I feel like the Gurley owner could have waited a couple weeks because I feel like he's just going to start off good because he's going to be like hearing all this crap where people are saying he's not going to be the same running back anymore and he's going to have a fire on him. I feel like you could have got a bigger return because I like to let some players gain some value the first few weeks before I try and maybe trade them if I think they're going to fall off at the end of the year, especially injury prone guys like that. Like I did that with Melvin, and I did that with Gurley. I did that with Gurley. Near the middle of last year too, where I traded him in the middle of the year, and I wasn't mad about it because he ended up getting hurt when the fantasy playoffs came. Right. So, and I got the biggest return I could for him. So but I feel like that's low because I don't really like Aaron Jones. I don't like Freeman, and then what was the other one? A 2020 mid.
Yeah, it's a mid second. It looked like.
Yeah, I like the Gurley side on that one.
Yeah, for me, anytime anytime a guy gets hurt or is injured or bad negative stuff comes out on him, I don't look to move him. He's either going to bounce back or he's going to sit on my roster until the trade deadline.
Yeah, because their value is at the lowest it can be when bad news comes out. So why trade him when that happens unless you're completely scared? You might as well just see if he can gain some value now.
Right, absolutely. All right, so Paul posts over on YouTube. Saw Julio traded for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Philip Lindsay, a 2020 second and a fourth. Makes me mad because the guy getting Julio is my competition despite him overpaying. Yeah, I mean, Julio for the immediate future's the best player in that deal, but J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's nice.
Yeah.
Phillip Lindsay's decent, and a second is probably potentially a valuable pick in next year's draft. So, I mean, obviously, the package probably has a better long-term value than Julio, but man, hopefully Julio isn't going to put him over the top and beat you this year, Paul, because that'd be rough.
That could be a trade where that's a win-win because if that guy's trying to win now, Julio might be good for this year, and that dude that's trying to rebuild got some good pieces for the future. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would be mad if I was a contender and saw
it. yeah, for sure. That just means that, Paul, you got to go make a better move. That's all.
Yeah.
All right, so the next trade on the docket, so we're still, actually the rest of these are Roto Heat 96er trades, I think. So Dwayne Haskins and Patriots receiver Maurice Harris, so you know how well that's going to go for him, was traded for Marquise Brown, wide receiver Baltimore, D.D. Westbrook, wide receiver Jacksonville, and a 2020 first. That feels like a lot for Dwayne Haskins.
It does. It definitely does.
Unless you know Dwayne Haskins is the man, which I
know.
Don't.
Yeah, I would think he's the man if there were some more people there for him to throw the ball to, but there's really, I live literally probably a mile away from the stadium, so Haskins was the man around here.
Right.
And I'm not necessarily a huge Buckeyes fan, but I liked watching Dwayne Haskins. I think he's a good quarterback. He played well throughout the whole game. He stood he's a pocket passer. And I think in the NFL he'll explore his mobility more, maybe like working outside the pocket and maybe doing some play action rollout, because I think he's got that ability to do it. I just feel like he didn't need to do it at Ohio State. So
no.
I like him, but that trade with a rookie, I know not many people like Hollywood Brown because of where he landed, but if you think about it, he's a speedy receiver who's going to run drag routes across the field I can just imagine him, Lamar, basically doing like a run option or a run pass option where he either chooses to dump it off to someone running across the field or run it. Westbrook, I think, is going to be the number one receiver in Jacksonville. He or Cole, but Westbrook's gotten better every year. He's entering his third year. And then a 2020 first is just icing on the cake to me. So I think that the package deal definitely wins there in that trade. But I do like Haskins, but I would almost like him maybe in a couple of years more than he is now.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing is that Haskins went to the perfect spot for the type of play that he does. Like Jay Gruden doesn't ask your quarterbacks to move any more than he has to. And when they do, they get hurt like Alex Smith did. So he leaves them in the pocket. All right, so Paul over on YouTube says, it's a win-win for both owners. So he's talking about the Julio trade.
Yeah.
Just scrolling my leagues here. 14-team IDP PPR. 2020 back half second and 2020 first likely playoff second for Sammy Watkins and Nelson Aguilar. So 2 seconds for Sammy Watkins and Aguilar, I think, is highway robbery. Like Watkins is, I think Watkins is worth more than 2 seconds by himself.
Yep.
Nelson Aguilar, see, people are down on him, but I like him. I think he's young enough that he had value in Philly, and I think he's still. I don't like Alshon Jeffrey. I'm not an Alshon fan. He doesn't catch the ball very well. He doesn't catch the ball very much.
Yeah, he just seems to come in when it matters, and I feel like that blows up his value more than it's worth.
Yeah, I think they have a potent enough offense that Aguilar and Arcega-Whiteside can both have value. And even if Aguilar, this is his last year there, I think he's still young enough that he has value to another team as well. So I think that's a crazy trade. Like that doesn't make sense to me why you just give up 2 seconds for those guys.
Yeah, and Sammy Watkins is young. I think he's only 27. He's been in the league a while, it seems like, but he's only like 27. Yeah, that's young for a receiver. So
he's super. He's got a lot. I love Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, he's going to be a high-end wide receiver too this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill. If Hill's not around, Sammy immediately becomes a wide receiver 1 in my eyes.
Yeah.
But that
there's no guarantee of what happens yet.
No guarantee. But even at his floor, still better than that off. Like there's still that's insane. So this is by far the most ridiculous trade of all the trades, but I put it in here because it's hilarious. So this is in my division, and I know the 2 owners that did it, and I think they thought it'd be funny to do it. So a 2025th for Eli Manning. I know Eli sucks. Like I'm not a fan of Eli. I have no interest in Eli, and even for a fifth, like I probably wouldn't offer anything for him. I don't think a starting quarterback is that devalued that if you're really going to trade for him, I mean, if nothing else, a late second, early third. I mean, like,
yeah, that's absolutely insane. Starting quarterback, unless that dude has 4 other quarterbacks. I mean,
why would you trade for Eli then at that point?
I can't even imagine why the dude that took the fifth would even. I'm so confused
right
on that. Literally give nothing for at least a starter.
Well, let me pull up the rosters just so that we can have some fun with this one, because this one I really struggle with. This one, like, why on earth? What?
A third at least.
Yeah, give him
if
something.
Not even a second. I mean, I just can't.
Right,
Did the guy read it wrong? I don't know. I just don't understand how you get.
I never heard anyone.
I
never heard anyone say, you know what? I accidentally did that when I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you value him as this 32nd best quarterback, like the worst starting quarterback, that's still better than a 5th-round pick. Like he has the ball in his hand every play. So I don't get it.
All right, so I'm on the rosters. Let me find him. These two yum yucks are in my division. So let me find Okay, so the guy that traded for Eli Manning. Let me just do this. It'll be easier to find here. Transaction. Okay, so the guy that traded for Eli Manning's other quarterback. Oh, yeah. He needed help. So his other quarterbacks are Blake Bortles,
ouch,
Joe Flacco, Blaine Gabbert, and Taysom Hill. He needed quarterback help.
He's the only guy I've seen that has worse quarterbacks than me.
Yeah,
in that league.
So he's rough. Now the guy who traded him away has he didn't really need him. Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
he didn't really need him.
Even then, he at least still got a third.
Yeah,
if that guy needed it so bad, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he could have gotten more. I mean, because of the rest of his team, it's not like it's amazing. You know, his big running back. He doesn't really have a running back. I mean, he's got running backs, but nobody like amazing. He's got Matt Breida, Austin Eckler, Adrian Peterson. I mean, Jalen Richard, Jalen Samuels. He doesn't really have a stud. Wide receiver, he's decent. You know, he's got Odell Beckham, Geronimo Allison, John Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Kelvin Harmon, Deshaun Jackson, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu. I mean, he's got decent receivers. He's got decent tight ends. He could have tried. I would have asked for more. I mean, I wouldn't just given him away. That's for sure.
Yeah, gave him away for nothing.
Yeah, so he gave him away. All right, so Paul over on YouTube says Colin traded Bridger, Kenyon Drake, for Rojo and a yearless second. Devy, so let's call it a yearless second. All right, so it's a Devy league, and he traded Kenyon Drake for Rojo and a second. I'm not a huge Kenyon Drake guy. I like Rojo because of Bruce Arians and what Bruce Arians does with players. I think, you know, he could take that turd and shine it up into a semi-diamond. Probably not really an expensive one, but something.
Yeah.
So it's not terrible, Paul, but it's not amazing either. Like, it's kind of a meh.
Yeah. I'm not big on either running back, but with Bruce Arians going there, it'd be like it's kind of like having Andy Reid go there. Like you automatically the running back position for that organization becomes more value just because of the head coach that goes there. So I would like the Rojo side a little bit more because I feel like the running back situation in Miami is still a little foggy with how some of them are, like, because Balaj performed well last year. Brandon Bolden came in and did sweet a few weeks. Right. So I mean, I'm not big on Drake. I was big on him last year, and I got disappointed, so I got off that wagon. I'll go with Jones.
Agreed. Okay, that's a good take. All right, so the next trade in the Roto Heat 96er that went down here recently was Naheem Hines, Allen Robinson, and Ian Thomas, the Panthers, second, third year tight end, for Josh Adams, Dante Moncrief, Kevin White, a 2020 first and second. because I like Marlon Mack, I don't necessarily think Nyheim Hines has a clear-cut way to getting 10-plus touches a game, which is kind of where I need him to be if I think he's got decent value. Allen Robinson, I don't necessarily think he's going to be in Chicago long-term, so I don't know how I feel about him. Kind of the best parts of this deal is the 2020 first and second, in my mind. What do you think about that, Bryce?
Yeah, the West side, the Allen Robinson side, Ian Thomas side. Like I kind of like those guys, but it's like I don't know how I feel about them. Yeah, it's like I don't know how I feel about them. The right side, though, I think Moncrief might have a decent year. He's apparently making his appearance at OTAs, and people are saying that he's doing pretty well. But to me, the picks is what makes the right side much better to me. So I would go with the picks and then take a chance on Moncrief. So I would like that 2020 first. That's what gets my attention.
That would be where I go.
Yeah.
Okay. So over on YouTube, we've got Colin also. Paul, we know you love Colin, so you love to call Colin out. He's not on here tonight to defend him, so you call him out away. All right, so Colin also gave Bridger, OBJ, Sheila Manning. That's a good one. Mason Rudolph and Dante Moncrief for Robert Woods, Mike Williams, Josh Rosen, and a Devi first and third in Superflex. So Colin blew it up, and Bridger is good. But those pieces are nice. Like Mike Williams from the Chargers is one of my favorite receivers. Like, I think he's going to be huge this year, and he was even huge last year. I mean, he had 10 touchdowns when he was fighting for targets with a bunch of other players. I think Josh Rosen in a super flex, he still has potential. I mean, he was a first-round quarterback for a reason, and he went to a place that favors the pocket passing quarterback, which is what he does well. So I think, and Robert Woods is Robert Woods. I mean, in LA, he works well with Jared Goff. So, I like the pieces that he got back for basically Odell Beckham. I mean, what do you think? So it's basically Robert Woods, Mike Williams, Josh Rosen, a 1 and 3 for Odell Beckham.
For OBJ?
Basically.
Man, I don't know. Everyone's so big on OBJ, but I don't know how he ends up doing in Cleveland with all the other talent there. Because I mean, he was the guy, and like Eli would close his eyes and throw it up to OBJ, and he's just so talented he can make a play. I think I would go with the pieces there, just because I feel like you're getting a lot of solid starters for one guy. But then again, if that team, like Bridger's team that got OBJ, if the rest of his team's pretty good and he got OBJ to add to it, that's a good win. That's a good player, and it puts him in a more elite squad. So could be a win-win for both, but depending on your team, I still think I would go for the package in a vacuum.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. Okay, so all right, so the next trade, Royce Freeman, Rashad Penny, and Noah Fant. No, I did not make this trade. So Royce Freeman, Rashad Penny, Noah Fant for a 2020 first and second. What do you think?
So the guy that gave the 2020 first and second had to be reading that Penny is getting all the reps, because that's the only thing I can see worth the first. I still think I'd rather have the picks in this one. All these guys, to me, I don't. With Lindsey there, Royce Freeman's just is a split back, and I don't like having a running back that splits at 50-50, if he's lucky to even get that. Penny's still going to also get that too, because Chris Carson's good. I don't know why people – he's not a good PPR back, but he's a great runner. Yep. And, I mean, tight ends don't make a splash till like year 3. So I think I'd rather have the pick if it's at least mid to early. Later, then it makes it more even, but I think I'd rather have the picks, personally.
Well, yeah, and I don't argue that. Like, for me, the struggle is, so Denver's one of those teams that have a new head coach. Their head coach, Vic Fangio, is a defensive guy. Historically speaking, defensive coaches love to run the ball. They love to pound it. The grinding running back on that team is Royce Freeman. So, in my mind, he stands to benefit. But Philip Lindsay was good last year. Before he got hurt, I mean, it wasn't like he was a slouch. slouch. So it was hard for me to go. Right now, 2020 first and second are like gold. Like people like go crazy for them. So it was hard for me to go. You know what? I think by next year, Freeman and Penny, and even Noah Fant look a lot nicer as options to go after than whatever that first and second might be. So for me, I kind of felt like the package made sense only because every year people go. Every few years you get that, the 2017 draft, people hyped up the 2016 and 17 draft like it was going to be amazing. There are always good players in every draft, and there are always crappy players in every draft. Some drafts have an abundance of good talent that comes into the league, but for me, I don't go as crazy about those picks as others do. They're a big deal. If I can get them, I will. But these guys were drafted early with expectations to be high-end starters for their team. Rashad Penny was a first-round pick for Seattle. That you don't get that often anymore. Running backs don't go in the first very often unless they're unless they've got something that people love about them. So, I lean towards the players, but I like both sides. Either side, really, I'm like, whatever. It's good,
Yeah, it's a bunch of question marks. Hopefully, you got to see which one pans out to see who won the deal.
And Paul says, I'm taking the Penny Fant side by a good margin here. See, but if we look back and that 2020 first and a second are like top 5,
then that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'd have to see that guy's roster and see where I think he would land. And then, because if I see this dude's roster and it's sweet and it's a 2020 first late, I'm like, well, pick 9 and 10 is not nearly as valuable as pick 1 through 4. So,
I can't argue that one. Yeah. So good take, Paul. But there's a lot. Anytime you're selling guys that you are already in the league for lottery tickets, you never know. So it could go either way. Next trade: AJ Green, Jordan Matthews, who's in San Francisco right now, and Cameron Meredith, who's in New Orleans still, for Will Fuller, Christian Kirk, and Curtis Samuel. I'll give it to you first, Bryce. I got a lot to say about this one.
Okay, I like the AJ Green side right here. There's a few reasons. AJ Green's in a contract year. Players seem to always perform better in a contract year. He is older, so if I was the person receiving AJ Green, I definitely would hope to flip him throughout the season because I wouldn't want to keep him. Just based on, also kind of depends on
unless you're a contender.
Yeah, unless you're a contender, also because you never know with that new system going there. That coach came from the Rams, and the Rams passing game was great last year. So, and I think that Jared Goff's a good quarterback, and I don't think Andy Dalton's bad. He's average. So, maybe this coach can help him out. I like the AJ Green side. The Christian Kirk and Curtis Samuel, like I said, Curtis Samuel, he's got okay value, and Christian Kirk, you never know with how those guys turn out. So, I think I'm just going to go with the safe player here, which would be Green on this side, because I think you can flip him for a bigger profit.
So it's interesting. So I agree with you. I think Green probably has the most cachet and going to get you the most return right now. So over on YouTube, Paul says he'd take Kirk over AJ Green as is.
Interesting. I don't think so.
The struggle I have with that is if Zach Taylor comes in Cincinnati and his focus is helping keep AJ Green healthy. So keeping him healthy is, limiting his routes, bringing that down because AJ Green, the problem is he can't have the volume. So he can't be on the field for every snap. John Ross, Tyler Boyd, they have to step up. And they can't force him to go deep for every single route. Like, you got to give him a little bit of slants. You got to give him some curls. You got to give him some stuff where he's not having to go crazy the entire game. And I could see it. I could make the narrative that he could stay healthy for 13 games or 14 games, and take weeks off, maybe with ankle injuries like he seems to have. For me, AJ Green just makes more sense. Will Fuller makes AJ Green look like the most healthy player in the world.
Yeah, I don't like him at all.
No, and Well, but see, Paul, the issue I have with Christian Kirk is this year. So if you're trading AJ Green, the person trading for him is probably a contender that wants to win now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate. He could just really love AJ Green and want to give away young players for an old guy. I don't know. But Christian Kirk, to me, still needs a few more years to really, especially because now we brought in a new head coach, a new system, a rookie quarterback, like you said earlier, Bryce. There's a lot going on there. Larry Fitzgerald's going to get his targets from the slot. They brought in Andy Isabella. They've got Hakeem Butler now. They've got Kevin White, a lot of different receivers. Kirk has to figure out a way to separate himself from the rest of those guys. He has the talent to do it, but I don't know how he does it this year. So if you're a team that's looking to win this year, AJ Green makes more sense. He's probably going to help you win more weeks. Christian Kirk is the long play in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could be good in a few years, in 2 years, in 3 years, something like that. So, yes, I agree that Kirk probably is underrated, but I really need to see training camp. Like, I need the Cardinals to show me that he's like their guy of the future, which I don't know.
It's so early. It's just hard to tell. And I feel like if that guy lets AJ play a few games and they ended up because the Bengals always start off hot. They've been doing it for the past, I don't even know how many years. So watch AJ Green score 20 plus points for the first 4 weeks, and his value is going to be at the highest it probably will get for the season. Sell him then for Christian Kirk and even maybe a first or something. You don't know. That's what I was saying. Like, I would almost wait. That's why sometimes I like to wait for some of these especially older players to play some games and have their value possibly be at its highest, which it could go vice versa where they do terrible and it goes even worse. But I'd rather take the risk and have them go a little bit higher value and get more out of them, especially because AJ Green's proven to be one of the most talented receivers when he is healthy. So
yeah. And you're seeing that in if you look at like the ADP on rotoheat.com, you're seeing a lot of AJ Green falling down draft boards. I mean, the world thinks less of AJ Green, and that injury history is really catching up to him. So I don't knock a guy for wanting to go younger. I wouldn't have wanted Will Fuller just because of those injuries. Like, Will Fuller has a ton of talent, and we know Deshaun Watson loves him, but the dude just can't stay healthy. And Curtis Samuel doesn't move the needle for me in a deal like this where, So, Paul, it's a good take. I'm not, I hope you're right. I hope Christian Kirk does pan out because then, the few shares I have of him look a lot better.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the last trade that I found in the last couple. Paul says Will Fuller is the throw-in in here. Good throw-in. Yeah, Will Fuller could be good if he could stay healthy.
Yeah. He never does, ever.
That's the unfortunate thing.
Jordan
he's
Reed.
Much more injury-prone than AJ Green, and AJ Green gets hurt every year. All right, so the last trade, and this is one that I'm very divided on. Like, my feeling on Mecole Hardman is really cold, where the rest of the world seems to be pretty hot about him. So Mecole Hardman, a 2024th and a 5th for Albert Wilson. I know it's not the most attractive trade, but Miami paid Albert Wilson last year kind of wide receiver one type money. Like, they were expecting him to come in and perform, and he was just hurt. Like, he just didn't get to play. So how do you feel about Kansas City rookie receiver Mecole Hardman, which I'm told by some in the world is the next, Tyreek Hill, which is
Well, I had pick 13 in my draft, and he was pretty much the best available, so I took him. So I hope he ends up being awesome, but I don't see him doing anything this year, or maybe not even next year. Maybe the third year, So if someone leaves and he gets a shot because he does have the speed, and apparently at training, or not at training camp, but OTAs, the coaches say good things about him, but I feel like they say good things about every single player. So
that's what you're supposed to be saying at
OTAs. Yeah, you don't hear much bad stuff. So for this one, I like the Wilson side just because I feel like he's definitely going to be on the field more. So he's going to be getting he's going to obviously get more targets and stuff, because I just don't think Mecole Hardman will be on the field that much with Watkins, Conley, and Hill possibly there. If Hill gets suspended, it might be a little different story, but that's still up in the air. So I think I'll go with the Albert Wilson side because I think he'll be on the field more.
Paul says over on YouTube, the non-Wilson side by default. So he doesn't care who the other side is. He just doesn't want Albert Wilson. Yeah. Now, I've never owned an Albert Wilson share. I don't necessarily... When he was in Kansas City, he was always kind of like the next man up. Like everyone expected him to break out, and he never did. So it kind of turned me off to it. Like if you can't break out with Andy Reid, then he really makes receivers better. So
he makes everyone better.
He does. He's a great coach. He does a good job. He just doesn't know how to win a championship, and that sucks. I hope one day he wins one. I mean, he deserves one. The struggle I have with Mecole Hardman is one that Colin and I talked about months back when we did a lot of our rookie talk. He's a converted cornerback. He's only been playing receiver a couple of years. He's buried in Kansas City right now. He needs Tyreek Hill to be suspended for his entire life. Plus, he needs Conley to not really be any good. Which Conley's, I don't really know if he's any good anyway. But so he's got a ways to go before he really gets the opportunity to take on that role. And I still think he needs 2 to 3 years to develop his game because he's just so raw as a prospect. I like him long term as long as the hands are there. So that's another big concern to me. Typically you're a cornerback because you can't catch the football. You aren't good enough to play receiver, so they put you at corner. I won't say that to any actual NFL player, because they'd probably get pissed off that I said that. But that was what I always heard when I played football in high school was if you can't catch, go to the corners. That's just the way it works. Yeah. So. He's a converted corner, so obviously that means he can catch because they brought him over and let him play receiver. But he's going to need some time to season. So if I'm the Albert Wilson owner and I need some young guys that I can let sit on my roster at the bottom and develop, absolutely a great target. If you're taking him at 113 though, that means that you're like a good team. So it's not a big deal. Like you could let him sit at the back of your roster for a couple of years and it's no biggie. Oh, yeah, no, we're dumb. So Conley's in Jacksonville now. I completely forgot about that.
That's right.
But they've got – all right, so I'm going –
No, they got somebody.
Up chart now. Because I know they've got a third receiver that – all right, so thank you, Paul, for helping us with that. All right, so Paul says, I'd rather take the 24th versus Wilson straight up. You could find someone to buy Hardman. He's terrible and was a clear reach by a panicking KC team who thought Hill was done. Conley's in Jacksonville now, but Hardman's upside was Hill being done. He just isn't, and he won't be. All right, so, all right, so let's go find their depth chart because I know they've got another receiver that I'm not thinking of. Oh, Demarcus Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
That's who it was, not Conley. I actually like Demarcus Robinson. I think he needed time to develop, and he's at the point now where he's getting close to year 3 where he could be valuable. Young kid came out of Miami, had a bunch of question marks, but he's got some good skills. So I still think Hardman would have to jump over him too. Doesn't matter who, he would still have to jump him. I like Conley in Jacksonville because he could probably actually get some targets there because who knows who their receivers are outside of D.D. Westbrook. I definitely think the Hardman pick was a panic by KC. He fits the mold. He's insanely fast. Like he's the fastest receiver at the combine this year, but he just needs time to develop. And I just don't think it makes sense to, if you're a contender, to trade for him unless you've got a decent wide receiver core and you can let him sit and grow.
Andy Reid just loves speed too, so.
He's like the Al Davis of Kansas City. If you're fast, he's on his team. Robinson has just not gotten better since he left Florida. He was the man for a year or so, and then the hashtag weed. Yeah. Unfortunately, the ganj just doesn't always help guys. Yeah, Robinson hasn't gotten better, but how much of it is he hasn't been able to get better? That's a pretty even before they got Watkins, he couldn't have. He was too young and needed time to develop. So they went and got Watkins, and now he's just got too much talent ahead of him on the depth chart. So even though Demarcus Robinson isn't in any of these trades, he's a guy that I'd take a flyer on for the back half of my roster to see if something happens with him. He's another one of those guys that I would be letting sit because he's a lottery ticket type thing. See what happens. Oh yeah, he says he's worth a flyer, but don't be afraid to cut him in week 5. Yeah, well, no, if there's somebody better out there, he's going to be on the waiver wire. I mean, it's just the way it is. So yeah, okay, so those were trades that I found while poking around in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Were there any trades that you've seen in leagues you've been in that things we haven't talked about? I want to make sure before we close the show that you have time to, kind of to talk about some things that you've been thinking about. If there's other questions out there in YouTube and Twitch, I see that we have viewers. So if any of you that are watching have questions, they don't have to be trade related. We certainly will answer whatever questions you have. So Bryce, is there anything else that has been happening in leagues that you're in?
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring up this trade because I feel like one side definitely got a better deal. So this team one here got Chris Warren, so a backup running back for Oakland, Zay Jones, and David Montgomery for Chase Edmonds, Miles Sanders, and Quincy Enunwa.
Miles Sanders is really the only piece of that other side that I even have remote interest in.
And I have him below Montgomery. And then I think Zay Jones is a good addition too.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Zay Jones is Robert Foster and him are basically playing the same role. And it seemed like Josh Allen liked Robert Foster last year a lot. So I don't know what that does to his value with them bringing in John Brown and Cole Beasley. So that it's interesting. I like Zay Jones' value. They took him in the second round. He should still continue to be good. I think David Montgomery is the best piece of that deal just because everyone seems to be excited about him and he looks to have a nice role there in Chicago. Quincy Enunwa could be good, but the dude just, he's another one of those health guys. I mean, he's had like neck issues, which, I've never had a neck issue, but, that sounds dangerous. So I don't know how hard, I don't know how hard he can really play before he gets hurt again. So I like Miles Sanders, but it seems like David Montgomery, Zay Jones, and the package has, the better upside.
Yeah.
Paul says Sanders, but it's close, and he's a Zay Jones truther. So Paul, why would you take basically Sanders for David Montgomery, who's getting drafted well, it depends. Sometimes gets drafted before Sanders, Zay Jones, and more.
I feel like the Eagles running backs haven't been what they used to be when people used to get excited for Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy. I feel like there hasn't really been an exciting fantasy running back since them. Like they had what's his name? Murray. They had Ajayi. They had Murray there, and that was like everybody thought he was going to be great, and he didn't have nearly as good of a year as he did when he was in Dallas. So I don't know. I feel like with that the style offense they run and the way they play, I don't really know if I want any part of the Philadelphia running backs anymore. Personally.
Yeah. Obviously, Paul doesn't agree with you because he says Monty is garbage. Whoa. Poor Montgomery. The rookie comes in the league, and Paul's just saying that he might as well quit now. His career is done. I think Miles Sanders, obviously he had Saquon in front of him, so there's no way he was getting on the field. I think Miles Sanders hasn't seen the peak of his value. I don't think we've seen the best from him yet. So I think he's got a lot of opportunity to be successful, but, trading for Jordan Howard, I don't think Jordan Howard's a slouch. I think Jordan Howard's a decent running back. He obviously plays a different role. Jordan Howard has to work on catching the ball. It's not his natural game. But so, that's a tough one to me. I would probably want the package more than just one player and a bunch of hurt guys.
Yeah, and Montgomery's going to play right away. I don't even see. Miles Sanders might play, but he's not going to be the starter.
Right now? I think he's hurt right now still.
Who?
Miles Sanders. I thought he was injured in OTAs.
So I don't think Howard ever did bad for Chicago. I just don't think that they used him the way he's built to be used. So I don't know. My prediction is that he's going to be decent with Philly, but I still don't want any part of the Philadelphia running back committee.
They just have too many. It's almost like back when the running back by committee was a scary word, and a team like Carolina had D'Angelo Williams and then went and drafted Jonathan Stewart in the first round. Nobody wanted a piece of that because it's like, holy crap, who's going to get any touches? Well, Philadelphia has gone like the extreme of that. Now we've got like 4 running backs because I even heard a news. Who was I talking to? Somebody that they heard that Corey Clement they're still talking about him being part of that offense. I mean, now you're talking 3, possibly 4 running backs that have the opportunity to see the field. I'm like, that's just you're making the Patriots look like they have a bell cow back. I mean, that's just insane.
At least they're clear on who's the runner and who's going to be a third down back. I don't know. I just feel like, how can you get a running back into a groove? Because that exists. Like, running backs get into a groove with their offensive line and everything on all that stuff. So I don't know. That's just baffles me.
So Paul also says Philly hasn't had a good running back since Westbrook. Shout out to Brian Westbrook. If you ever watch the show, you are the reason I made it to multiple championships, man. Back in the day, like, I rode him hard. He was the only running back I had, and he would help me get to championships. I loved Brian Westbrook. I still have a Brian Westbrook jersey, and I'm not even an Eagles fan. I went out and bought one because of him. All right, so Philly hasn't had a good running back since Westbrook, outside of Murray stealing money from them. Oh, yeah. Murray didn't do well. Yeah.
McCoy was good. He was a great fantasy player when he was there.
And they bounced him quick. He didn't last long. If Miles Sanders can learn to stop bouncing runs outside, look out. Well, and Sanders, I mean, like I said, Sanders, we haven't seen, he hasn't gotten to the top of the mountain yet. So I still think there's more to come from him. I just don't know if, it's going to be good or bad. And I don't know if Philly can develop that, because we're seeing that Philly doesn't know how to develop running backs very well. I mean, Jay Ajayi came in and had some success, more success than he did with Miami, but was it Philadelphia making him better? Or was it his talent finally showing, or was it the coaching? I mean, I haven't seen them take a running back with this coaching staff and make him better.
Yeah.
Take a guy and elevate his game. So that I have concerns, but I have concerns across the board. I mean, obviously, like I said with Zay Jones, does Robert Foster continue to steal touches? Does John Brown cut into it? Cut into him, because Zay Jones does have some speed. I mean, he could take the top off the defense. Well, that's John Brown's role now, because that dude's the fastest guy on your team. Cole Beasley, going in the slot, how does that work into it? I mean, so, and we haven't, you don't even touch about tight ends. Dawson Knox really has some sleeper value in Buffalo. So that's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough trade. I don't fault either side. I'm sure they each had their own reasons, but that's a good one. That was a good trade. That's probably one of the more interesting ones on my list of trades.
It's interesting that you usually don't see rookies getting traded so early. Usually people who draft them like to see what happens with them. So,
especially in the first round. I mean, both those guys are first rounders in this league.
Yeah, it's weird. Just like, if that guy wanted that rookie, then why didn't he just draft him? Because I feel like you just swapped rookies pretty much. Maybe with adding Zay Jones as a possible bye week backup. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
Philly also wants to run a lot of shotgun, and that ain't going to be Howard. No, shotgun is not Howard. Shotgun is probably Corey Clement to start, and as Miles Sanders grows, he will take that role. So, for sure. And you have to be in shotgun because you got to keep Carson Wentz healthy. I mean, you got to keep that guy upright. You let Foles walk. Your backups are, Nate Sudfeld and a rookie, so you got to keep them upright. What else you got? Any other trades?
Really, not many trades have been going down in my league. Let me look into the 96er and see. Well, I guess I could. The one I did in the 96er. Hold up, let me see. Because I traded and got Saquon. Can't remember everything I gave up.
Holy cow! You probably had to give up everything.
I gave up quite a bit, but I gave up players I definitely didn't mind giving up. Let's see here. This league's a little different. I think I can probably remember it. I think I gave up James Conner, a 2020 first, AJ Green, and Dwayne Haskins for Saquon and Joe Flacco. That was basically what I gave up. I might have given up my second too, but I didn't really care about the second either. The first sucked, but I don't know. So,
that's not bad. I mean, I'm to get Saquon. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Not to give up, to have to overpay at this point.
With how my roster looked, I should probably stayed where I was at, but it's just I didn't have any shares of them, so I was like, now I have Saquon and Kamara, so maybe I'll trade one throughout the season. We'll see. But
the funny thing for me is since I've joined the team last year into this year, it's almost like I've treated a lot of my leagues as social experiments for writing. So I'll try to get specific guys or try to figure out what their value is, and so my team's kind of made up a lot different than say my home league or some of the leagues I've been in for a while that I treat differently. It's almost like all the Roto Heat leagues I've treated a little bit differently. There's a 12-team Superflex we started last year that I went into the auction trying to play it safe, and I didn't spend a ton of money on guys, and because I was working on a piece, so I wanted to figure out, is that a good way to go into an auction? It was not. My team sucked, so so this year I made it rain. It was like the complete opposite. So all right, so Juju Smith-Schuster for Njoku, Sutton, and 1-8. I would take Njoku, Sutton, and 1-8 just because I love Cortland Sutton. I love David Njoku, and 1-8. I mean, it's not an amazing pick, but I like Juju, but without Antonio Brown there, Juju's
that's
now
what I'm
double
about to say.
covered.
Yeah,
How
we were
is he
talking
going to beat that?
Yeah, we were talking about that last night. We were saying, first of all, how he's going to be going up against the best corner of that team. And now with not a proven number 2 receiver there, he's definitely going to get double teamed. So who else is there to really be threatening you in the pass game other than Juju and then Connor or Jalen out of the backfield? That's why I didn't have a problem giving up Connor, because apparently they're going to be splitting. It's supposed to be a running back by committee there now. Mm-hmm. So I think Antonio Brown leaving actually hurts Juju Smith-Schuster's value. I think he'll get a lot of targets still, but I think he'll get more targets. But I don't necessarily think he gets more receptions or touchdowns like he had. But I could be wrong. I mean, I think he's talented and all, but he's not Antonio Brown talented.
He says, "You guys both agree with my side. Holy Jeebus." The apocalypse is happening, Paul. We're all on the same page.
I like your side on that one, Paul.
Somewhere Colin is crying. Colin is crying.
Yeah, Juju's being valued way too high, for my opinion.
You know what? He's got the talent, and he could still hold his value. But if that happens, I need to see James Washington show up. I need to see the rookie from this year show up. Dante Moncrief has to take a step. I mean, you really need something bigger to happen to help take some of that coverage away from him.
They have guys there. I mean, like I said, James Washington. People sleep on this. Eli Rogers too, but when he's played, he's been effective. So, I mean, you never know with who can step up with the spots opening up. So you never know. Sure. You just never know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, and we might as well go out on top because we're all in agreement with Paul. So if we don't stop now, things might get bad. So sales pitch time for those of you that are watching. Make sure you guys check out rotoheat.com. If you're not a premium subscriber, you need to do so. We're constantly updating ADP. We've got our rankings up on there for those of you that do IDP. There's a few of us that are doing IDP rankings on there. We've got a lot of stuff in the works, and it's super inexpensive. It's super cheap. It's only a couple bucks a month to get some really good content. You also get to be part of a VIP Discord chat and a few other fun things that more than make up what you would spend. I think it's only like $3 a month. It's super cheap. So don't be super cheap. You need to join rotoheat.com's premium subscription, and there'll be more to come with that. Make sure you check out all the amazing content that's going up right now. Sully, who was on here earlier, has Sully's 2 cents. That's on iTunes and Google and all the other podcast platforms you can think of. Kevin Kloss has a ton of great content. He's got the Blockheads if you're into football. He's got Beneath the Rim if you're into basketball. I love talking basketball with Kevin. The dude's super smart, and he's an awesome guy to talk to. We've got a great streaming community growing. Monday night we've got the Heat Seekers, which is a podcast stream. We have other random shows that pop up like last night's show. We've got streams galore that are happening. I will have to cut in here and respond to Paul because he did post a semi funny question that I think I've seen pop up on Facebook a couple times. So make sure you check out that stuff on Thursday nights. Every weekend Thursday nights, unless I take a vacation, I'm here doing the Roundtable. We talk about everything. We talk about IDP. We talk about rookies. We're going to get into Devy content once the season starts. We've been putting together kind of our Devy rankings and talking about what's coming in 2020. So I'll get Colin back on and we'll do some of that, and I'll get some of the other guys that like Devy involved. And continue to stay here. Go to rotoheat.com. We have a lot of stuff going up there. My man Bryce has joined the team. We've got a few new guys that have been joining the last few months that are putting up some really good articles, really good thought-provoking stuff to help you prepare for your fantasy season in any sport. We're talking hockey, we're talking basketball, we're talking baseball, we're talking football. We do post news. As news breaks, we are posting it, analyzing it, talking about it. I put an article up this morning. As soon as I saw Melvin Gordon's news pop up, post an article helping you understand what to make of all that. So keep it locked here to rotoheat.com. You will get everything you need, and we're better than everybody else. I'd say that, but I could be wrong. So before I let you go, Paul says, explain how the QBs are ranked as low as they are on the Superflex rankings. That's odd to him. Well, because that's people's perspectives. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own opinion. The interesting thing, as I've been working on putting together all the ADP data from all the ADP mocks that we've got going, and we're mocking every day, people are all over the place. We just got done with the Superflex rookie mock, and one of our divisions of drafters drafted insane. It was all over the place. It didn't make any sense to me. So when you have people behind the information, anything's possible. Just like Paul, Colin well enough to know that he wanted Geis over Barkley last year. People are crazy sometimes. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Bryce, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for your time. Hopefully we'll get to talk some more, and we'll get you on here more. We enjoy having you around. So, Bryce, have a good night. Paul and anyone else who's watching who hasn't commented, because I see other people are watching, have a good night. Thank you for joining us on the Roundtable, and we'll see you guys later.
Yep, thanks.